Right Honourable, if we are looking at it from the place of economic development and growth, Nigerians will be asking the question of how does corruption impact the livelihoods of our ordinary Nigerians when we know the corruption in itself hinders economic development by discouraging foreign investments, stifling innovation, distorting market capitalization as well as competition. And the World Bank estimated that corruption cost Nigeria approximately 2% of its GDP annually. And that translates to a very significant loss of revenue that could be used to improve infrastructure, healthcare, and even other, education and all of that.
Do we need the World Bank to tell us that we are corrupt before we are?
It seems like we always wait for the international community to tell us.
Do we need the international community to alert us how our monies have been stolen in this country to Europe and America?
Wow.
Do we need the international, Transparency International to indict Nigeria before we know the situation we are in terms of corruption? Or do we need who? We don't need Europe and America to tell us that we are corrupt. We are corrupt because they aided the corruption in the country.
They aided it?
They aided it.
Okay.
They aided and abetted it. They decide who rules this country at times. Because corruption has different facets. You're talking about financial corruption. The institution that is lamenting now, is it not government institution?
Right.
Is it not the Economic and Financial Crime Commission? Is it not under the Federal Republic of Nigeria? These are apart from EFCC, we have the ICPC.
Right.
We have the NFIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit of the country. So, if you have these bodies, these institutions, these agencies, or these departments to fighting corruption, financial corruption, yet corruption is still winning, then you should know that if the head is off, what will the neck do? That's just the sine qua non. Because if you ask me, why should corruption tarry this long, 64 years after independence, and we are still battling with corruption? One, because the Constitution itself does not give us the headway on how to fight corruption, to nail it, to eradicate it. There are countries even in Africa that have made laws, strong, stringent laws in the Constitution. If you know that the corruption is winning, what do you do as a nation? What solution do you have? You go into the law. Number one, the Constitution. Then number two, those who interpret the Constitution, which is also an arm of government in a democracy. I'm talking about the judiciary. If I steal 200 billion or even 2 billion today, and I am caught by the EFCC, and the EFCC use their machineries, their telescope, their periscope to get me, their technology to get me, won't you say that the EFCC is even trying for discovering that something, finances have been stolen by me, and then they prosecute me to the court, and the court give me a leverage and say, look, we're charging you, we recover this, you pay a fine or be imprisoned for these years. Compare the fine to the years of the imprisonment and to the money stolen. You will discover that in this triangle you would want to pay the fine and go scot-free.
Right.
And that is what has been happening. Even in our political corruption, what do you have? Is the process of election genuine? I'm not trying to divert, but I'm talking about corruption generally. This is finance we are talking about. So if the financial stand and strength of the country, or the EFCC, which is an institution that is discovering and recovering finances in the country, could come out and alarm, it means that we are in a state of quagmire, of financial quagmire, and economic comatose. That is where we are, and we are struggling economically to make ends meet for Nigerians, and we are pretending. So, in my own opinion, if the EFCC have no power of prosecution, because in Europe and America, you have corrupt related court where people can be tried for specific crime, especially financial crime. It is not all the time that you go to Supreme Court or you go to appeal court or somebody takes you to what court you have. You have to have a specific court for the EFCC for financial crime, so that persons found guilty or organizations found guilty, culpable, can be prosecuted and meted with the maximum penalty. And when we're talking about maximum penalty, we are not talking about option of fines. Because if you want to eradicate crime, then deal with it status quo. Deal with it straight ahead. Don't pretend, don't romance it, don't pretend that you are fighting it when it is fighting you and you are allowing it.
Okay.
That is the situation we are in Nigeria. We bring political bureaucracy over everything. The other time I told us here that our country cannot move on because we do not have trajectory. We build our nationalism on ethnicity, on tribe and religion. You will see what the EFCC have discovered today. Before you know, the persons they are supposed to prosecute, religious body will intervene.
Right.
So the theology of neo-colonialism will come in. The religion now, the religious body now want to intervene that this one is our own. Or the ethnic background where he comes from, so persons, powerful persons will come and intervene, this one is our own. Or the tribal person that is in power, that is very powerful, want to intervene and say, this one is our own, please, how do we need this? No, so the corruption can always prevail because we drive our democracy, we drive our institution on these three tripods.
Okay. Let me put a plug to your thoughts. Dr. Austin, I mean, you've heard Right Honorable Daniel Atai right there, coming from the place of, looking into the competency of the EFCC, number one. If I'm not mistaken, Right Honorable, you're saying that the EFCC is somewhat overwhelmed.
No. Overwhelmed? They have been doing incredibly well.
Okay.
But they do not have the power of prosecution.
Right. And now, for you, Right Honorable Tai, I need to hear your thoughts, your reactions, and of course covering every other aspect as it comes to your mind in this regard.
You see, Udwak, you can see the reaction of the callers. You see, the citizens are actually tired of verbal and oral promises in the fight against corruption. How many presidents so far have come and gone? All of them promised to tackle corruption. How do you tackle this corruption that is endemic already? You cannot tackle something that is flowing through your blood and through your veins, even all over your body part, internally and externally. Nigeria has been adjudged by the international community, by the African community, as one of the worst corrupt nations in the world. And sadly, we're actually not doing it. We deliberately allowed it to filter. What do I mean? Simple electronic machinations, just like we did in programming. I'm a systems engineer, and I can tell you that I can end corruption in this country, and any expert, any ICT expert can boast of that. Is it not institutional corruption? How did we come about TSA? Is TSA not working now? TSA is working. The Treasury Single Account. Is BVN not working now? BVN is working. It's linked to a bank account, isn't it? How did the EFCC trace money laundering and so on? It is by the aid of electronics. You get me? If you, even the political corruption that we are talking about in terms of election, it is because we deliberately want to be analogous. If we want to be digital in our voting system, there won't be rigging. just the way it is. You are seeing in US they have started their election for long, isn't it? Because they don't want political corruption. It has to be transparent. State by state they are voting electronically. And you are saying it, you can't be read out. But we have this money in billions that we are sending, laundering abroad. Technically, it is the Constitution and the federal government that deliberately allow corruption to fester on in the country, because they can stop it by the aid of electronics. It's all about programming. How do you know the number of citizens you have in this country? Is it not a population census?
Do we even have the data yet?
We don't have the accurate data because they deliberately don't want to, because of ethnic rivalry. Ethnic rivalry in terms of who is high, who is okay. The North believes that they are the most populous in the region, in the country. The Southwest will tell you they are the ones. So how do we get to know our actual population? Is it not through systematic counting per head, not area geographical counting? I'm talking about just the way we have BVA, individual have their personal account, it's linked to you. You have, let there be data harmonization. Data harmonization through driver's license, national identification number, through bank verification number, or through immigration passport. All those things should be harmonized into one ID card. And that ID card, you can use it as your bank ATM. You can use it to do anything. You can use it, to vote. You can. That is what is called data analysis in terms of citizens' data accountability. Both for fraud, you can be identified. Both for voting, you can be identified. Both for palliative to get you, you can get to you, you can be identified. So it is a deliberate mischief that the government allow corruption to fester, because the government can actually make corruption. We have the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. Do you know the amount of corruption that is also there? As an expert, I can tell you that daily Nigerians are being defrauded. One, I complained here the other time, with the common man that is just using handset. You are using MTN, you are using Glo, you are using Etisalat, you are using 9Mobile, you are using whatever. Those MSDNs that you are using, on daily basis you load card to make call. On daily basis, on monthly basis, on weekly basis, you load data. Data that you load is money. Airtime that you load this money. Are you aware that this allowed corruption to fester?
Okay, I get that.
And it is deliberate, because it is like the court now. If you like, go to court. That is the slogan now, the latest slogan. If you don't like it, go to court, because it is like it has become for the highest bidder. So the common man, the common citizen of this country suffers everything, and that have to stop.
Right. All right, that has to